All right, so we're officially recording. And I'm going to turn it over to Emily Nolte to introduce our guests and visitors.
We just have two visitors today. The first one is Lakshay. Lakshay, if you could tell us where you come from, where you work, and question for tonight is, what is your spirit animal?
Sure. So yeah, my name is Lakshay. I moved here from India last year in 2020. And in fact, Alyssa used to work at the place where I am at the moment, but I never got a chance to talk to her about the Rotary Club. And so yeah, I work for a firm here called River Architects in La Crosse. And yeah, things have been kind of all right now. I mean, last year, as we all know, how it was. So, and yeah, I got to know about the Rotary Club from someone recently. He was here in 2016. There was a guy from India, and he joined the club, and he told me what things he did and how fun it was. So, yeah, that made me, it made my interest, and I was like, I should check it out and join it as soon as possible. So, yeah. And my spirit animal, I'd say, I'd go for a tiger. Yeah, I mean, yeah, because he always does the work by himself and he likes things by his own way or something. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Lakshay, and welcome.
Nice to see you again, Lakshay.
Hey.
The next visitor we have is Holly. Holly, if you could just tell us where you're from and what your spirit animal is.
Well, I'm originally from Iowa, but I've lived up here for, I would say, 21 years now. So about half my life. And my background is criminal justice and AODA. I've worked for the county, and then I'm also a social worker for Inclusa, so we're contracted with the state. My caseload is mental health. I absolutely love my job. And I love the flexibility because now that we're working from home, at first I was like, there's no way I'm going to get anything done other than a clean house. But we made an office downstairs. So it kind of worked out. But I have a daughter. I've been married for 6 years now. We've been together for 21, I think it's been now. And my spirit animal, I've always been attracted to the bald eagle. I think because it's kind of a loner, but yet it kind of sees all. It just kind of perches and watches, and I'm that person. I kind of sit on the sidelines and kind of assess before I jump in. Did I cover it all? Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Holly, and welcome.
Thanks.
Marissa, speaking of spirit animals, when do we get to find out the winner of the Bill Pritchard, Tom Selleck spirit animal, meme or caption contest?
That's a great point. And I was trying to be a little sensitive to Bill. For some of you, you've probably seen on social media that his son-in-law was in a major accident, and I think he's breathing on his own, but he's in the trauma unit in Madison. So keep Bill and his son-in-law and family in your thoughts and prayers as he heals, and that will be posted. I just was trying to wait a little bit before that happened.
Agree. We'll wait, but it won't go away.
No. All right. Thank you, Emily, and welcome to our visitors. We're really glad that you decided to join us tonight. All right. So many of us know that the Rotary community and the greater La Crosse community has lost 2 individuals in the past couple of weeks who did so much for others. Many of us were lucky to have known David Amborn, and he unexpectedly passed away on Valentine's Day And I've asked Mandy to share a few words to honor David and the impact he had on many of us.
Thanks, Marissa. It's really hard to put into just a few words what David meant to our community. In terms of our connection to him, David was a longtime downtown Rotary member. He had joined Rotary in 1992, and he'd been an active member in that club ever since. He was their president in 2008. David was also instrumental in the Rotary Works Foundation. I know several of our club members are very involved in the local Rotary Works Foundation. David was the one who named it the Rotary Works Foundation when the Downtown Club Foundation expanded to include all of the local Rotary clubs to join together to create one foundation that served all of our area clubs. He was very proud of that. And he said it just came, it was Rotary Works, and the rest is history. David worked at Gunderson Medical Foundation, and that is how I knew him. He was first a colleague. We worked together for 5 years before he retired in 2016. He started his career with Gunderson back in 1988, spearheading Children's Miracle Network hospitals and fundraising for children with needs in our community. And the first day I started working at the foundation, David told me, "It's for the kids, damn it." And that's how he was known in the community. He was an advocate for youth. And it wasn't just for Children's Miracle Network. He went on to serve on the board of many nonprofit organizations that serve youth, including the Children's Museum, the Parenting Place. Even through Rotary, he advocated for youth by partnering with Rotarian Al Lewis. Al is a muskie fisher, and each year he'd go up north on a fishing expedition, and David challenged him to raise some funds during his time away to support needs in the community. And David helped to spearhead a fishing pledge challenge to raise money to purchase diapers for the Parenting Place for families. I could go on and on of how instrumental he has been in our community, and the fact that even if you never heard David's name before tonight, there's probably something that you've benefited from or that you've been a part of that David had fingerprints on. And he's just an incredible example of what it means to put service before self. He emulated the Rotary motto, and he's all somebody that I think we can look up to as an example of a servant leader in our community. And our community is better today because of David, and his loss and the void of his passing it just leaves an empty space in a lot of hearts in our community. So thank you, Marissa, for recognizing how instrumental he has been, and taking a moment to remember this special person.
Thank you, Mandy. For those of you that were at the etiquette dinner a few years ago, I was going through old pictures and found one of David. I happened to be at his table, and I found a picture of him and Eugene and Aaron Miller. And so I think it goes to say that he was always a champion for young people. And I know that he was a champion for all of us in after hours being young people, and that we will carry forward with his legacy of making the world a better place like he did every day. So thank you, Mandy, and our hearts and prayers go out to David's family and his friends. So spoiler alert, our Rotarian of the month is James. But James is not here tonight because he's tied up with kids. So don't tell him. We'll present him with this at our next meeting in March. But because he's not here and because we have a lot of other things to cover, we'll just leave this for our following meeting in March. Caitlin, there is a couple service opportunities coming up. If you want to share what those are and let everybody know how we're doing for volunteer signups.
Yeah, so this Friday we have the this Saturday we have the Wafer Food Fair from 9:30 a.m. to noon. I believe we have at least 7 more spots. So if anybody else wants to join, we already have a really good, fun group of people. So I think it'll be a really great event. And then in March, we are doing mobile meals. That's the 22nd until the 28th. That's over the lunch hour, and we still need people for, I think, 3 more days. So if you're able to fill any of those spots, we'd love to have you.
Thanks, Caitlin. All right, Josh, it's your shining moment. Our club bylaw amendments.
I was just about to finish, take my dinner out of the microwave, but let's talk bylaws, the most exciting part of the night. So I am going to high level the bylaws. So I was told very strictly I have a timeline. No, I'm just kidding. But we're going to high level the bylaws tonight. As far as I'm aware, we have not updated the bylaws since they were originally drafted and approved 10 years ago. So there's a number of things in here that things, just have changed over the last 10 years. So we're going to read through them. We'll have a couple minutes for question and answer at the end. But if there's any really in-depth conversation we have, we'll probably just want to take that offline. But the board has reviewed these changes and approved them. So, as part of our bylaws, we bring them to the club membership, and the membership as a quorum has to approve. So a couple of things, right? We made some updates to improve the election timeline flexibility. The way our elections were kind of written in the bylaws, they really didn't happen until right before the start of the year. So we're looking to make that more like other clubs where we can have an election process start earlier so we can have more conversations and talk through elections with people versus it being just kind of this race at the very end of the Rotary year. Could you go back for me, Marissa? Thank you. Removal of the Rotary italics. So there was some boilerplate instructions that were included in our bylaws. So we are looking to remove those, right? We reviewed with some bylaws experts in the district, and they agreed that those really shouldn't be in our bylaws, right? It's something to help you draft them, but it's not something that should actually be included within your bylaws. The number 3, this is a big one. So in our club, elections have traditionally been done, every position is run individually, right? So everybody's on the ballot, everybody who wants to run, and then they take elections, right? That's very unusual within the Rotary world. A lot of Rotary clubs, you take nominations like we do, but then you build a slate. So you say, hey, we're going to put this person in, put this person is treasurer, we're going to look at this person for secretary, or this person for director, right? And it helps us build a more cohesive team versus just kind of everybody going in, and especially as you get a larger club, right? So if you have a small club that's 20 members and everybody knows each other, it totally works. But when you start to get to a club of 60, 80, 100 members, it becomes very difficult because there's just so many people that you don't know. So what we're looking to do is not say we're going to do any roles specifically by slate or by straight up election, but allowing the opportunity within our bylaws to make those processes, right? And it's not just like me picking names out of a hat in secret, as president-elect of kind of who's on that slate, right? We have a committee, there would be a process, but trying to look at this and say, hey, there's a little more direction to it and a little more forethought. And we can say, hey, even though maybe this isn't the right opportunity right now, right? Like we can work things into the future. There's just a lot of things we can do with a slate to help the club run, even better than it does today versus just open elections, but we'd still have the opportunity to do open elections if there was a highly contested position or things like that. Number 4, retitling the VP role to be president-elect nominee or PEN, which is just consistent with the nomenclature out of Rotary International these days. Number 5, replacing the past secretary role with a 1-year director. So today, the secretary, there's secretary-elect, secretary, and past secretary, which turns into a 3-year role, which, as everybody knows, things at our age in life change quickly. So looking to make that a 2-year role, so it's secretary-elect, secretary, and then changing that past secretary who really doesn't have any duties within the club to a 1-year director role to give more people opportunities to get exposure on the board and experience. Number 6, looking to change the treasurer role to a 2-year term. So we want to try something different. We've had challenges in the past, right? The treasurer role is kind of like the secretary role or the president. There's some knowledge that has to go with that, right? You learn the bank accounts, you learn the financial statements, you learn some of these different things. And it does, right? It's with a 1-year role, by the time you learn it, it's kind of time to start rolling off because it does take a number of months to kind of wrap your head around it. So we've done a lot of work with procedure and process and writing things down. But again, that's one where we're looking to make that into a 2-year role. So it's a little more consistent. Number 7, removing right now in our bylaws, there's a specific dollar amount for new member fees. It really doesn't make sense to put specific dollar amounts in this. It really shouldn't take a quorum and a vote by the entire club to say, hey, we need to charge $1 more because costs are going up. They're really, right, that's getting too detailed into bylaws, right? At the constitutional bylaw level, we really shouldn't be talking about specific dollar amounts of new member fees. Number 8, updating the definition of written communication. We do, with COVID, with everything else and getting more modern, right? You don't have to be like sitting in the room with a piece of paper. And that is in a lot of ways how some of this is written and interpreted. So if you're taking a very strict interpretation, so we just want to make sure that that is allowing electronic communication as well. And then last but not least, there is a admin finance committee that is listed as a required committee. Our club hasn't had that committee as long as I've been a member. We've got some other pieces that we look at. The board takes on a lot of that role, as I understand. So it's not to say we can't have an admin or finance committee, but we're striking that from being a required committee. So if there is a need and we do want to have it, we can always create it. But it's just one that we haven't had, at least for a long time. So we don't really want it to be listed as a required committee. So now it's questions time.
I got a question on the dues and fees. I think, going back to the generation of like creating this, that was specifically in the bylaws so that the board could not make a fee adjustment without the vast majority of the club agreeing on that. So the only feedback I'd have is, do we want to change that bylaw to say something along that, or have some process in place that the board can suddenly take it from $35 or 40, whatever the number, it's 40 now, but like from 40 to $70 or whatever, without, an actual vote of the club?
I mean, I guess I feel like it's a pretty low risk that the board would kind of do something wild like that. I mean, there is a concern, but I think it's also one where the vast majority of our club, I just imagine where this comes in is, inflation, right? Rotary ups our fees by $1.50, right? Going through all the hassle of trying to do this. I don't foresee the board kind of going wild or rogue and like doubling our fees. I think it's just more of an administrative piece that I guess I trust the board to lead, especially with them being elected. And if people disagree, we can always, change it back the next year. So I guess I feel like it's to a level of micromanagement within the bylaws that really isn't necessary, but yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Well, if any other questions come up, I think, Marissa, do you have the next piece?
Yes. So in order to vote on the proposed amendment changes, it has to happen at a regular club meeting after the majority of the board has approved it, which happened back in November. And it requires written notice to be sent to each member 10 days before the meeting. So everybody should have gotten the proposed bylaw changes on February 2nd via email. We also need to have quorum be present for the vote. And Amy, could you remind me once again what we're at for membership for this meeting?
24 members.
24. So we have 61 members. So a third of that would be 21. So we've met that requirement. And a majority of the directors of the board have to be in attendance, which I know when I was counting, we're at least at 7. So we should be good there. In order to pass these amendment changes, 14 of you members have to support the change. And again, they have to be in consistent with the standards of RI, Rotary International. So there is a QR code there, and hopefully everything will work. Again, we ask just the members to vote on this, and it should only allow you to vote once. But for those of you, if you haven't used a QR code, if you just take your camera, like you're taking a picture of that, that black and white dot thing, should open and allow you to vote on them. Otherwise, there is a link, and I can put that in the chat for anybody. Let me just go back and do that quick. Sorry. I can put it in the chat so that you have the link. All right, so the SurveyMonkey link is in chat for anybody that needs that. So we'll just give it a couple minutes, and I actually can pull up so everybody can see it real time. Please let me know if you're having any difficulties at all. This was anxiety provoking for me today to know that this was going to work, but let's stop share.
I voted in like a second.
Oh,
so
cool.
It worked okay for me.
Great.
Yeah, it was super easy.
Okay, cool. So let me open that. So let's see, we've got, let's see, 24 have supported yes, approving the amendments, and we have 0 that have not. So I think everybody that is eligible to vote has, but regardless, we've met the requirement of yeses for that. So those changes will get made, and we'll get the bylaw document updated in Club Runner. So thank you to Josh, thank you to Laura and Mandy and to the board who have worked on that or have looked over it for guidance over the course of the last several months. Okay, so now let's see, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. All right. All right, and let's see. Are you guys back? Can you see the screen? All right. Lucas, would you do the honors?
You betcha. This Rotarian enjoys spandex and camo, cuddles in an ice shanty, long walks in the woods looking for whitetails, the smell of sweat, and peanut butter whiskey hot chocolate. If you ever find yourself in a dark alley needing help, you better hope this girl is close by, because she can outbench us all. Let's give a warm raw applause for Morgan Diddleberg.
Oh, that's funny. I was going to say, Lucas, you pretty much did my vocational. I probably don't even have to give it anymore. But thank you for that. As Lucas mentioned, my name is Morgan. And I have my vocational today, and I do have to say it was kind of fun to throw this together. I was looking back and I did one, I think it was 2017. So it was kind of fun to see. Obviously there weren't a ton of differences, but I was able to connect more of kind of Rotary to my life and work and everything. So also just the top picture there, I was going through old pictures and I almost forgot that we got to watch Nick Ragnar wrestle. So good memories if anyone remembers that. And then let's see, you can go to the next slide. Perfect. Also, I'll warn everyone, per Amy's request, there's a lot of pictures in here, potentially too many. So I had to cut out a lot too. But so a little bit about me. I was born in May. I'll be 30 this year, which is still hard for me to deal with. I'm originally from Black River Falls. I moved to the area in La Crosse here in 2016. And I was gonna say, I guess when I first moved to town, I just rented for a while, but I did buy my house which I'm in right now, in 2018. So also fun little fact for anyone that played Kahoot a couple months ago, I think it was around Christmas time maybe. That upper right-hand corner picture, that was from my first Olympics, first figure skating show. So that was when I was in figure skating. Otherwise, let's see, you can go to the next one. So for education, I went to school in Illinois, the land of the fibs, but I graduated from Augustana College. I was biology major, psych minor. I did play volleyball. I worked as an athletic trainer. And then I was in SAC, which stands for Student Athletic Advisory Committee. And then I actually was in a sorority as well. So, because actually down the bottom picture, that was my pledge class. And if you look really close, fun fact, there's on the right-hand side, you can see there was a guy in there too. So we weren't a national sorority, so we kind of got to make up our own rules and everything. And each pledge class would have, because our nickname was, we were the Speeds. So each pledge class would have a speed stud. So there was one male that was chosen, I guess, to be part of our pledge class. So I guess that's probably technically different than normal sororities. So kind of fun fact there. Let's see, next slide. So career-wise, I currently work at Co-op Credit Union, and actually after I graduated college, I started working there right away. So I did start as a call center representative, like I said, pretty much right after school. Worked there for a little bit less than a year, and then actually the credit union ended up merging with what was La Crosse Postal Credit Union and kind of getting into this area down here. So on the upper right-hand side there, if you've drove on Highway 16 from Onalaska out to West Salem, you probably drove by our building. So if you ever drive by, go ahead and give me a wave. I'm the first office right facing Highway 16, kind of right as you come in the door. But once we made the move down to this area, I was actually approached to see if I kind of wanted a different job. So obviously going from a biology major to working in finance, I figured might as well give it a go. Sometimes when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. And so I'm in my current position, I guess, since then, so June of 2015 as a loan officer. Just somewhat recently, I did take the FICEP certification, which I guess it stands for CC or CCUFC is the acronym for it, which is a Certified Credit Union Financial Counselor. And let's see, so this was the one thing that I guess, I didn't talk about a ton in my first vocational, so it was kind of interesting to go through and kind of apply each of the, or the four-way test, the Rotary four-way test to work itself. So for the first option, is it the truth? Just with the job in general, that we sometimes do have to give tough love and help people with to determine what they want to accomplish financially. So we kind of drop a lot of truth bombs on a regular basis sometimes. But in the long run, obviously, especially when it comes to finance, better to be upfront with people so that it can help them in the long run instead of sugarcoating things and creating a bigger mess kind of down the road. Secondly, is it fair to all concerned? So fairness and consistency are actually two of our 8 core values. We strive to treat every member and situation all the same. So it doesn't necessarily matter if you have just a $5 membership share or if you're an account with over 500,000 in there. Each and every one of our members are all valued members. And then will it build goodwill and better friendships? So overall, the roots of Co-op Credit Union and just the organization overall, I did try to kind of showcase pictures where we do a lot of, or we have a lot of community involvement and do a lot of work within the community. So some of these kind of showcase our cooperative spirit of helping others, just like we do, obviously, within Rotary. And then let's see, will it be beneficial to all concerned? So like I said, we obviously help people with their finances and a lot with their overall picture of financial wellness in general. Obviously, that's kind of what I've been doing a lot with the financial counseling as well. So one thing that I've been really focusing on recently with that is that obviously we can give people loans for things that they want. But if they don't have a good foundation in financial literacy and financial wellness, they're obviously going to get themselves into a bigger or more troublesome spot in the long run. And then lastly, just to add in Marissa's kind of 5th option of the 4-way test is it fun? So in the lower 2 pictures, especially with the FISEP certification, I get to do a lot of work, well, obviously with financial literacy, but a lot with kids too. So obviously it's fun when you get to read kiddos books about money and make little piggy banks with them too. And then next, my family. So we have my parents, Todd and Kathy. They actually just closed on our family house in Black River. So they don't live in Black River Falls anymore. They live in the big city of Yuba, which is kind of in the middle of nowhere, somewhat near Hillsboro, which is also the middle of nowhere. But otherwise, I do have an older sister, Brooke. She's the one in the right hand kind of side of that upper picture. And she's holding her daughter, Lydia. Behind her is her husband, John, and then my other niece, Evelyn. And she's actually, well, she was pregnant in that picture, but technically didn't tell any of us at that point. So there is another baby on the way. And then I do have twin brothers. Grant is actually the one that got married in that picture. And then Rena obviously is his wife there. And then my brother Remington is actually right next to me in the picture. And then obviously my mom and dad are on the left-hand side there. And then, so in that picture below, that is my boyfriend, Elvis. Yes, his real name is Elvis. And no, he doesn't sing. And then, so the next 2 pages, I kind of went a little picture crazy, but this is just kind of a photo dump from the last vocational for, I realized I liked hiking and traveling more than I thought I did. So, like I said, just kind of a couple of pictures from some fun hikes that I've done in the last couple of years or so. But between hiking and traveling, those are kind of 2 of my bigger interests, I guess. I have a weird obsession with finding the cheapest flights on Google Flights, definitely. And then the next, you can go to the next one. And then other interest, I realized when I look back onto my other vocational that I guess my interests haven't changed, which is probably semi-normal, but I do still like to hunt and fish. I still play volleyball. I like to lift good amount, and I guess work out in general. And then I do enjoy being outdoors, especially on the water. And surprise, I still like going to live music or concerts. But you can go. So the next slide, I realized I kind of do have a couple of new interests, I guess. So since I've gotten the house, there's flower beds in back. So I've realized that I like gardening, although I need to get better at weeding since last summer got busy and everything kind of got overgrown. Other than that, so below the gardening picture, there's the first attempt at a tailgate charcuterie board. And then over on the left was year 2. So these were both at Westby Ski Jump, but I've realized I didn't go this year just because it was a little bit smaller with COVID, but I've taken quite the liking to making kind of excessive charcuterie boards for sure. Otherwise, picture in the right hand down at the bottom, that's just down at Soyuba, where the cabin is, where the parents live. So that's been definitely kind of a little or a good getaway. It's nice. It's about an hour and 15 minutes from La Crosse here. So definitely close enough to run down for the weekend for sure. But it's been an awesome getaway. This is actually one of the ponds that my dad originally put in for the deer. But since then, it's been more of a floating pond, and we utilize this one. And then there was another one that was built for the deer. So last but not least, and I just had to laugh at that meme there too. I am literally obsessed with my air fryer. So I air fry pretty much anything that I can these days. And if anyone takes away anything from any of these vocationals, if you're on the fence about getting an air fryer, go ahead and do it. And then we can share recipes and ideas there too. And let's see, last but not least, so kind of my, I guess, why Rotary. So I originally, I guess, learned about Rotary in high school. We had, with the local Rotary Club there, they would choose a male and a female that would be kind of the youth Rotarians of the month. They were seniors in high school, and we'd kind of give an update on, I guess, what was all happening at the high school. So at the time it was, I guess, it was when I'd go to meetings, I'd see all the successful individuals in the community that I knew that were all getting together. And obviously it was kind of a social, it's at lunchtime in Black River, but it's kind of a social time for them to, or I saw it as a social time for them to get together and just kind of bounce ideas off each other. So at that point, I was kind of hooked that I thought this is something I definitely want to get involved with when I'm older. And come to find out too, that actually my future CEO or the president of the credit union, he was actually, or he still is very involved in Rotary in Black River, but he was actually on kind of the youth committee at that time. So whether that was, he hasn't, or I guess he has told me to this day that that was kind of how I portrayed myself at that point in Rotary, was kind of a point that helped me getting hired to the credit union too, which is kind of a cool deal. Otherwise, then after moving to La Crosse, like I said, I knew I wanted to be in Rotary. There's plenty of options for Rotary clubs in La Crosse, and Rotary After Hours just kind of fit. The one thing I put on there, obviously, it's kind of a bullet point too, is just make sure that you, or I guess Rotary, as anything in life, whatever you put into it, you will get out of it. So when I first joined Rotary, I didn't really join any committees. I just kind of went to the meetings, went home after the meetings, and that was it. So I definitely kind of sat back in the shadows. But since that first vocational a while back, I've been involved on a couple different committees. I've been on the board for 3 years. So this June, I guess, will be the end of my 3rd year. And I've made a ton of awesome connections, and it's been really cool to be a part of some of the different projects that we've done locally and across the world. So I have to, I guess Keith isn't in the club anymore, but Keith Lease was actually the original one that kind of pushed me to join a committee. And I guess I definitely kind of needed that to get the kick to be a little bit more involved in the club. I'm definitely thankful that he did. So if anyone, especially new members, if anyone's in need of an extra kick to get involved in the committee, in any committee, I can definitely help with that. and I can definitely help if you're interested in joining membership committee. But I just realized I didn't add an extra slide, but that is all I have. So if there's any questions or anything, that is all.
Thank you, Morgan. I love how you tied the four-way test into your work. And for those of you that probably don't know this, Morgan reached out to me, I don't know, late last week, and through work, they were doing a drive for hats and mittens, and they had extra hats and mittens. And so got in touch with the Little Free Pantry over by our Little Free Library at Hamilton. And Morgan was able to get all of those extra hats and mittens for kiddos that need to stay warm over the winter months. Hopefully there's not many more weeks of it, but thank you, Morgan. And if you do have questions, for the sake of time, let's just, if you guys don't mind sticking around for a little bit after the meeting, we will move forward with our second vocational with Liz Evans. Madeline, are you, there you go, Madeline. No? Okay, Josh? I think, I can't hear you, Madeline. I think you're muted.
Right, it's not me.
I was gonna say,
I'm sorry. Okay, it's Josh. Sorry, I screwed that up. Josh, take it away.
all right. Well, so our next presenter is known for her sassy cross stitches, along with her passion for making a difference in our community. While she coordinates the annual Regions Compass report for helping people in need, she also tells me that she could easily become a hermit with her pup Trixie. So grants big or small, Liz Evans is an expert through it all. So Liz, over to you.
Thank you very much, Josh. Yeah, just to sassy cross stitch, I will show you all. I recently made this for my kid who is grown, says, "Thou shalt shutteth thy pie hole and calmeth thine titties." That is the type of cross stitch I am into. Very sassy. So my early years, I was born mid-70s, if you can't tell from my mama's lovely locks and style. And I may or may not be the younger sister of Chris Farley. Yeah, y'all can judge there. That was a gem I found while going through my old baby books. So go ahead to the next one. I was raised in Sparta, Wisconsin, but quickly after high school, I had to get out of town. So what better way to do that than to get married to a serviceman? Moved to Newport News, Virginia, and then he took a post in Mattoon, Illinois, which is a weird place for to be in the Navy, but he was a recruiter. Then got out of that, we moved to Oklahoma, lived in Tulsa and Sand Springs, and then in Edmond, and then things didn't work out, and back I came to Wisconsin and have lived in I lived in La Crosse for several years, and in the past 5 years or so, I have recently landed right back in the same house that I grew up in. Kind of fun fact. So this is the house that I grew up in. My parents moved out to their cabin, and when I moved in, they hadn't exactly moved their stuff out. So if you notice, I have cows on the wall. It was kind of a joke that's kind of taken over reality, but every time they took a print or a piece of art off the wall, I put up a cow. So I have cows almost completely in my living room. There's just this one other print that is not cow. So that's what I've been up to as far as decorating. And I think it drives mom nuts, but I find it hysterical. So jobs wise, as I moved around, I've worked a lot of different jobs. When I was growing up, I thought I would be an astronaut. I really wanted to be an astronaut. I read every space book in the library, and then my dad told me that astronauts get lots of shots, and that did it for me. So I started my career as a server, as many people do, and then it went into the very lucrative video rental clerk. I didn't get fired from that job, but they didn't schedule me for January, so I kind of took that as a sign that maybe I needed to move on. Um, so then some other random jobs before I moved away and became a mom in 1996, which is one of the best jobs in the world. I got to actually stay home with my kiddo for a good 10 months or so before I decided I needed adult conversation and took a job as a salon receptionist, which is super fun. And they didn't let me touch hair, thank goodness, because I suck at doing hair. Um, Other fun jobs, I was a pharmacy tech for a while, which was really interesting. And I considered going into pharmacy, but that didn't work out either because calculus was not my jam in college. Um, but then through college, I bartended and did medical record release before I got into more of my career jobs, which I started working as a housing advocate after college at New Horizons, then became their development director, which is responsible for gaining all of the funds that the organization runs on. So doing grants and fundraising before getting a job with the Great Rivers United Way as the community impact director. So the picture, the lower picture is what my work actually looks like these days. We've been working from home since mid-March, and my dog hates it when I work at my desk. So she will lay and whine at me until I come snuggle with her. So that's what work looks for me these days. So you can go on to the next one. What does a community impact director actually get to do? I am the liaison between nonprofit partners and Great Rivers United Way. So I work with about 25 different nonprofits in our area, help them with networking and education, as well as and the administrator for all of their grants. One thing that I kind of joke to people about is I get to spend over $1 million in really cool things in the community every year. Not many people get to say that, and it's a pretty special position, but I don't take it lightly. We really do our work in deciding how we're going to spend community funds. And one of those things is that Compass community needs assessment that I coordinate, which wasn't supposed to be my job when I was hired, but ended up on my plate, and I'm finishing up my first from start to finish process within the next month or so. And yeah, I really hope it turns out to be a good resource for the community. We've done a lot of data collection through secondary data, but also surveys, random household surveys, and convenience sampling. And we've done I did a bunch of interviews with people and done stakeholder meetings, all sorts of different things to put into that study. I also get to serve on a lot of coalitions and committees, which really help expand my interests and get to explore different things to do. This is part of our GRU crew here in the picture. We always have a tree at Rotary Lights. So that's our tradition. On the day before Thanksgiving, we always go down and decorate our lights and then have a little wine. Next one. So my education and career interests, I went to school as for sociology with my my minor was in criminal justice, but I also have like nearly a minor in chemistry and took a lot of women's studies courses. So I could be like a feminist CSI if anyone ever has a crime scene or anything that needs stuff taken care of. I can do that. I've also done extra education, nonprofit development, and group facilitation, strategic planning. I get to work on diversity, equity, and inclusion issues. And also I get to work closely with in Monroe County, I'm working with the Mental Health Coalition and implementing a resilient and trauma-informed community program, which are passions for me that I'm really excited to be able to explore. So outside of work, that was okay. Outside of work, the photo on the left is my kiddo, Tegan, who married a Navy man herself. And they lived in Guam for a while, but now are back in Wisconsin, thankfully, and going to school at Whitewater. We like to do a lot of fishing and kayak fishing in particular. My photo there with that very nice sized bluegill, I went straight from work to fishing on the spillway, which is just was a lot of fun, a good spot to go. Also hunting. That's Brian and I in the deer stand most recent hunting season. One of my, I guess, hobbies outside of work that is not pictured here is napping, which I do in the deer stand. I managed to fall asleep with like a 40-mile-an-hour wind in my face, and it's a superpower for me, which I recently found out my kid has narcolepsy, so it might actually be medical, and I should probably have that checked out. We also love to garden. That's a picture of one of our gardens. We have 3 of them with Brian's family. And then camping and then adventuring with the dog. We just love to be outdoors and have a lot of fun adventuring together. Yeah, and yeah, it's Brian, who we've been together for a good almost 5 years now, and this is the longest relationship I've been in that I haven't gotten married. It's really weird, but it's good. So that's a little bit about me. I think that's it.
Our final rotation presenting tonight comes to us as an Onalaska native. She's known for her bake-off quality cakes, being fluent in legalese and French. She prefers barn life over the Ritz and four-legged friends over 2. Let's give a shout out for the one and only Caitlin Doyle. Woo!
Thank you, Madeline. And don't worry, there will be plenty of four-legged friends in my presentation. So I'm Caitlin Doyle. I've been a member of Rotary After Hours for about a year and a half. I am from the La Crosse area. Marissa, you can switch slides. This is my family. My parents are Steve and Gloria Doyle, and my lovely sister Stephanie is also a Rotarian. I grew up on a little hobby farm in Onalaska that you can see in the bottom right. Next slide, Marissa. These are just a couple of my fuzzy friends. I had to include them in the presentation because they're so cute, but growing up with animals was a big part of my childhood. So next slide, Marissa. Being from the La Crosse area, my first introduction to Rotary was through Rotary Lights. So here are a couple of pictures of Steffi and me. Looks like Steph is really excited about the reindeer. And then besides Rotary Lights, our mom always was talking about Rotary. We had fruit baskets every Christmas. and then we were somehow convinced to do a little dance for downtown Rotary. The first time I met Marissa, I'm pretty sure she brought this up. And I think she says that her dad still talks about it. So Amy, I promised embarrassing photos. So I don't have any from the actual program, but here are some of us practicing, obviously like very intensely, because look at how flushed we are. So that was just kind of our first introduction to Rotary. Education, I went to UW-Madison for undergrad, where I majored in international studies, political science, and French. I am not fluent, but I didn't know what to do with those majors, so I decided to go to law school. And I graduated from UW-Madison, UW Law School in 2019, and have been practicing as an attorney here in La Crosse since then. Next slide, Marissa. I'm an attorney at Johns Flaherty and Collins. My practice areas are estate planning, real estate, and business law. And one thing I really love about Johns and Flaherty is that they really encourage us to get involved in our community, big proponents of service, and really pushed me to get involved in fun groups. My mom, as a Rotarian, thought Rotary was a good choice, but she said I should join the cool club. So that's why I decided to join Rotary After Hours. My first meeting actually was when was Keith's last day as president. So I got to watch him strip and leave the meeting on his bicycle. And Marissa was surprised that I decided to come back. But Marissa was so great. She invited me out to lunch, and she was just so enthusiastic about the club and convinced me to join. And it's been a really great experience so far. Next slide. I'm currently the chair of the service committee. I think I've been doing this for about a year now. It's been super fun. It's been intense because COVID, of course, has changed things, but we've still been able to do a lot of really fun small group activities and outdoor activities. And I'm looking forward to doing more of that in the future. Of course, service activities and our socials and meetings are great ways to meet people. And Marissa's always talking about how Rotary opens doors to new opportunities. And of course, Rotary is how I met Justin. Obviously, or apparently, we can't take photos without our dog. So Justin and I got Matilda last spring. We bought a house last summer, and these are just a couple of our fun outdoor activities that we've been doing with COVID. And then my last slide is just some more Matilda photos, because who doesn't love dog photos?
Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you to Liz and Morgan and Caitlin. You guys are three great members for our club. We're so lucky to have you. Really enjoyed your vocationals tonight. They're all so different, but I think that's what makes our club so unique and so awesome, is everybody is different and unique and special in their own ways. So thank you for putting those together. And I know that we're at the top of the hour, so completely understand if some of you have to jump off. I think there's just a couple announcements. And I am going to let Josh quickly touch base on the board nominations for the new Rotary year that starts on July 1st.
So very quickly, you can see the board nominations are listed. More will be coming out soon. We'll be sending out job descriptions and things, but we're going to try and get this process started earlier this year, so there's just more time to kind of talk through things and with candidates. So if you're interested, feel free to nominate yourself. If you think you know people who would be good, please nominate them as well once the email comes out. Back to you, Marissa.
Thank you. There will be an email going out with a SurveyMonkey to nominate individuals for the positions, to self-nominate. Those are always the best because we love people that want to jump in. And I'm not sure if you guys saw, but the new Rotary theme for 2021 is Serve to Change Lives. And how true is that? Serving changes our lives as individuals, and it changes the lives of others. So watch for that email to come out probably tomorrow or the next day. And please fill that out.
And no matter what anybody says, it's not going to be as painful as they say to have me as president. So it'll be better, I promise.
Just a reminder, Shark Tank is April 13th. I'm looking for some projects to pitch the club. So feel free to, if you have an idea, reach out to Josh or myself. If you just want to be involved with something but don't know where to start, reach out to us. We'll get you in the right direction. Thank you to everybody that came out to go snowshoeing last week. It was so much fun to see so many of you in person. And a special thanks to Steph Klein for organizing that and Island Outdoors for hosting us. District conference is coming up. We already talked about that prior to the meeting, so I won't cover much of that, but this is Bill's district conference. It's all virtual in April. So hope you take advantage of that opportunity to join district conference. Just to touch base on our $10,000 challenge for our 10th birthday, we're really chipping away. Thank you to Jeremy Moritz, who offered that match at the beginning of the year. We're currently at $6,200 of our $10,000 goal. We're a little bit behind on our Polio Plus goal, but we do have a few months left before July 1st hits, and there are some fundraising ideas in the works. We've always done a beer tasting social, and Steph and James and Madeline are working on bringing that to life this year, but in a virtual format. So more to come on that. I'm super embarrassed because I realized that I didn't finish the slide before sharing my screen, but I'm really excited about our next meeting, March 9th. It's one of those meetings where I was like, when we realized that COVID hit and we were going to the virtual setting, I was starting to think like, who's those connections around the country, around the globe that you have? And I met David O'Connor back in 2008, and he was with the Secret Service for 25 years. He's served many presidents, and he is going to be joining us virtually with his thick Boston accent at our next meeting. And so I don't know about you guys, but I am fascinated by, like, you know, who was your favorite president? Like, who was your least favorite? So he's going to be joining us at our March 9th meeting. And as always, there's an invitation to stay on after if you want to ask any of our vocationals members additional questions or have comments, or if you just want to stick around and chat, that is always welcome and encouraged. And with that, we will, if you could unmute yourself, and we will recite the 5-way test before we officially adjourn for the evening. So in all the things we think, do, and say, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be fun?
And will it be fun? All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you guys sticking around a little bit later. And again, thank you to Liz and Morgan and Caitlin for your vocationals. It's always a highlight of the Rotary year, being able to learn more about our friends in Rotary. So with that, I will officially adjourn this meeting. And thank you to our guests for joining us. We hope to see you again in the near future.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye, Madeline.